Today, we break down the explosive Arise TV interviews that backfired spectacularly, where former Abia State Commissioner John Ikpeazu tried to defend the indefensible. But Abians and Nigerians weren't buying it. The Arise TV comment section became a courtroom. Over 99% of viewers delivered a unanimous verdict. The past administration left behind decay, debt, and disappointment. While JOK danced around questions about a phantom airport project and billions unaccounted for, Governor Alex Otti focuses on delivering results, even refusing to quote contract costs. Prematurely in today's volatile economy, JOK's claim that salaries were unpaid due to self-funding policies for state institutions was slammed as absurd, especially when those institutions were run by cronies. Governor Otti's administration is rebuilding what the previous government failed to do. Julius Berger is now fixing roads like Port Harcourt Road, abandoned for years after a failed N9B contract. Abia now welcomes serious investors, with $1.3 billion committed to Abia Medical Village. Governor Otti's administration has attracted more FDI than the past 24 years combined. Attempts to rewrite the past won't stand. As the press secretary said, JOK can block Facebook comments, but he can't block the truth. Abians are watching, and this time, they won't be deceived. The verdict is clear: Abia deserves better. This video is based on the official statement by CDZ, Okoha Njoku Okoha, Chief Press Secretary to the Executive, Governor of Abia State. Dated May 9th, 2025. Watch the interview and give your honest opinion. Thanks for watching.
Governor of Abia State, Alex Otti, accused his predecessor, Okezie Ikpeazu, of committing fraud by commissioning an uncompleted government house. He described it as one of several deceptive legacies that his government has had to correct since assuming office. Governor Otti said that while the previous administration had ceremoniously opened the new government house, what he met on the ground upon taking office told a different story. The governor also touched on various topics concerning the state of Abia. On debt, Otti maintained that his government had not borrowed a single kobo since assuming office, despite inheriting a debt profile of 192 billion naira, including outstanding salaries, pensions, and debts owed to government parastatals. While on the state of healthcare, he noted that the controversial multi-specialist hospital in Abia was not abandoned as alleged by but repurposed rather as a general hospital. He explained that the nearby Abia State University Teaching Hospital had regained full accreditation under his watch and now fills the specialist role. Well, joining us on the show for a right of reply on some assertions made by the governor about his predecessor is Chief John Ikpeazu, former Commissioner for Trade and Investment under the government of Governor Okezie Ikpeazu. He also served as special advisor to Governor Ikpeazu on ICT and social media strategy before he was appointed Commissioner for Information in 2017, where he served for 4 years. Good morning, sir, and welcome to the program.
Good morning, Vimbai, and thank you for having me.
Pleasure.
Okay, so this is a right of reply. A couple of things were said. At first, I would like to know how much was left in the state coffers when your governor, Ikpeazu, left. Secondly, what's your response to the uncompleted government house? Because I went there and I saw that there were some areas that were left undone, not plastered and all of that, from the second, third floor upwards. Thirdly, tell us more about the debt situation. The governor said he has not collected any debt. In fact, he had reduced the debts. What say you about that? It's a right of reply.
Thank you, Rufai, for having me, and thank you for visiting Abia State. Let me start right away with your first question. How much was left in the coffers of Abia State? Now, you must have heard Governor Alex Otti tout a KPMG report commissioned by his administration. That report, which he prefers to call a forensic audit, and that's surprising because he's a banker and should know better, is a process review document. That process review document says that over 4 billion naira in cash was left for Governor Alex Otti. Now, there were near cash instruments also left for him. For instance, the Ikpeazu administration earned 24 billion naira in stamp duties. We also left other assets because he likes talking about liability. And I was surprised he wasn't quite pressed. If you have come to public arena to talk about liabilities, you should also be talking about assets. If you are saying that, of course, there are liabilities, and so because the liabilities are more, what about the assets you inherited from the same government? You inherited a $60 million ramp fund. You inherited $225 million African Development Fund. You inherited 24 billion naira from the stamp duties due to Abia State. And then you saw cash in Union Bank of about 4 billion naira. Yet you said that nothing was left in the coffers. And thank you for that interview, because it exposed a lot of things. For the first time in my life, I saw a governor of a state who could not speak to how much the state makes in IGR monthly, who doesn't even know the fact receipt on the average. He doesn't even know the public school enrollment in our state. And I saw a governor for the first time who flagged off an airport project and does not know what the intervention of the state will cost the people of the state. Neither does he know what the federal government is investing in that project, even though there is budgetary approval for that project. That speaks to who Dr. Otti is. He is very high on propaganda, very low on substance. He told you that the first floor of the new government house that was commissioned, that he visited that place, it was fantastic. Let me for a moment concede that it was an uncompleted building. This guy has had 2 years in office. In those 2 years, he could have completed whatever was not completed. Yet he chose to stay in his private residence in Mfose, spend government money to improve his own private property, disgrace the people of Abia State, because you heard the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, mention it, that he's working from home, that no other governor in Nigeria is working from home. Whereas the same governor who told us that he was looking for 1 billion naira to actually go back to that government house, the new government house, to complete it, is the same governor spending multi-billion naira in Asokoro, Abia Lodge. The same governor spent over 800 million naira to fix the commissioner's quarters. Now, here is something that people don't know. If for any reason he believed that the new government house was not ready, he had the old government house in Umuahia. He had the presidential lodge in that old government house in Umuahia. He also had access, and retained access even to this day, to Abba Governor's Lodge. But the problem is when you are speaking to mediums, when prophets are deceiving a governor, he begins to find excuses here and there why he will not do what he's supposed to do.
On the debt issue, quickly go to the debt issue. The debt issue. He said he has not taken any loan.
Number one,
do you have any proof to show he has taken any loan?
Governor, I am sure that your producer will show on the screen a document confirming a contractor finance deal between Access Bank, owned by late Nwigwe, and Kranenburg, owned by late Nwigwe, signed by Abia State government for 50 billion naira contractor finance loan. Now, that contractor finance loan, like every other loan, is charged on the state FAC account. The spokesman for the governor admitted that they took this facility. Indeed, he said that they have only spent 10 billion naira as at that time out of the 50 billion naira. Yeah, this is the governor that found comfort in coming to the public arena to say what he said. And again, let me also say something. He mentioned DMO, Debt Management Office, in the course of his presentation, and made it look like DMO is an agency in the air. For Christ's sake, the data collected by DMO will normally come from state governments on a monthly basis, and he knows that. So why is he coming to the public arena to dispute DMO figures? And again, I found something funny. My governor said he has paid down over 70 billion naira from Abia's debt. And I'm asking, who did you pay? And when I looked into it, I found out that he has started smart accounting again, the same kind of smart accounting that led to the downfall of Diamond Bank, where they were using assets revaluation as profit. Now, let me explain the smart accounting, please, so that the whole world will understand. Vimbai, would you allow me 1 minute to explain what I mean by smart accounting?
Go ahead.
Thank you. With regards to the loan portfolio of Abia State, this governor, for instance, owed pensioners himself 9 months pension arrears, amounting to about 10 billion naira. When he paid the pension arrears, he asked those old pensioners, tricked them into purportedly signing a forfeiture of their historic pension and gratuity. Since 2003, administrations in Abia State have not been able to manage gratuity very well. So you have a historic pension and gratuities that is outstanding in our books. When they purportedly forfeited those pension arrears, what he did was write them off from the book, report that to the DMO as payment of debt. Whereas there are 4 elements in getting DMO domestic debt portfolio for every state. One would have been money borrowed from commercial banks. I want to speak to the fact today that the Ikpeazu administration did not left one kobo debt in any commercial bank. And the reason is very simple. All the commercial banks will give you facilities that will terminate before the end of your own tenure. So he cannot say that it was the Ikpeazu administration that borrowed that money.
Okay.
And again, we also had domestic debt arising from the old debts of Old Imo State, which was transferred to Abia State.
Okay, Chief
They
Kalu.
were also contractor debts. Now, these things made up the domestic debt that he was talking about. And if he has not done anything about any of this, we have not heard that Abia has paid off any of our foreign loans. Abia has not paid any of our contractors. We have not heard any other thing other than he has written off gratuities and pensions, comes to the public arena to deceive the gullible, which is
Kalu.
what he is very good at. I give it to him.
Okay, Chief Kalu. I want us to focus a little bit more on, can I call it the handover period? The period where one inherited something from their predecessor and picked up from there and moved from there. Because it is widely reported that at that stage, the handover stage, there was over 33 months of salaries owed. However, you're saying that all accounts were in the positive. Where did that salary indebtedness come from? If when he was inaugurated into office, he met it there. Can you explain a little bit of why these salaries were not paid? Because they were not a creation of anybody's imagination.
There were salaries outstanding, particularly related to parastatals. The model the Ikpeazu administration used in running parastatals is slightly different from what you see in some other states. His view, as at that time, was that these parastatals ordinarily should be profitable and that they should, because they do not remit their revenue to the state government, they retain that revenue for their operation. He was of the view that, look, you should pay yourself from your revenue. For instance, if you have a polytechnic in a state with 30,000 students collecting 100,000 from each student as school fees, why should that polytechnic be run in a manner that they will have to come back to the state government every month with a begging plate to collect money to pay salary? So he wanted them to be self-sustaining. Because old habits die hard, because the managers of that system, they are used to handouts from government while they swallow every other thing that comes from it. In the process, we had outstanding in our parastatals. I speak to the ministries in Abia State. No ministry was owed by Ikpeazu. I speak to the local government. We had 1 month outstanding with the local government, which was placed in the bank before we left office. The ministries, including the ministry I ran as at that time, didn't have any outstanding. In fact, Broadcasting Corporation of Abia State, that was under my charge at some point, not only did not have worker salary outstanding, we also had pensions being paid fully. Let me again continue by telling you that our governor dismissed the new government house. He said the ground floor was fantastic, but that the first floor was not even plastered. Let me now speak to the fact that personally, I was the one who supervised the furnishing of the governor's office at the first floor. Because the first floor is where you have the governor's office. The ground floor is for leisure. The top floor was supposed to be the governor's residence. And Dr. Ikpeazu said that ordinarily, every new governor will want to be the one furnishing where he will live with his family. That we should leave that top floor for him to do, so that he will do it according to his own test, knowing that he might have a different test from Governor Ikpeazu. It is not as if we didn't complete it. We even built a brand new 2-story building where we had up to 40 rooms furnished that will house his security aides. If we didn't intend for him to live there, why did we do all that? And I want to say to Nigerians that actually the last State Executive Council meeting was held in that new government house. Yes, I'm with you, Rufi.
I went there. There was no elevator there.
The
point for elevator was left blank. There were some parts of the top that was just only, was not painted.
The pictures that we're seeing now, what floor is this?
These pictures are just for the ground floor.
Right.
The upper floor, there was no elevator. I went there myself. I caught it on my camera after I did a tour of that state. That's the point. Secondly, I want you to talk about the health, the multi-specialist hospital system that you people, had built before, that you said the governor did not use, that he responded to. I want you to talk about that. And I also want you to talk about the arrears of payment and all of that. If you answer that, then Femi, please, you can come in.
Perhaps you can even add my question onto Rufai's on, which is still the same vein. Essentially, what Rufai has done is use his own personal experience to show the discrepancies between what you are saying and what is actually the truth, quote unquote. Vimbai also highlighted the fact that there had been unpaid salaries, which you have confessed to it being true. So when you're looking at the legacy of your own leader, someone you are clearly still loyal to, if you can list out his achievements, his greatest achievements after his term at the helm of Abia State, what would they be and how do they pale in comparison to what Alex Otti has done with his first 2 years?
Chief John, go
ahead. Let me start with you. Number one, you need to know that a facility was handed over 2 years ago. The governor left it open to vandalization for the equipment and materials there to rot for 2 years. And he's bringing people there after 2 years to inspect. Let me repeat again. We held the last State Executive Council meeting there. I moved the upholstery and furniture from the old governor's office to the first floor. The second floor, that building is a two-story building. The second floor is the residence of the governor. And I've explained why we didn't furnish it deliberately. That building was ready. And, okay, let me concede that according to what you've said, it wasn't ready. 2 years after, why didn't he complete whatever was wrong with the second floor and then move in there? When he's spending multi-billion naira at Abuja Lodge, he spent multi-billion naira on other frivolities, including money that we cannot identify where they were invested, like 6.7 billion naira for recreational facilities, 54 billion naira for renovation of schools, that he cannot point to one single school, and other such malfeasance, like you have him say that he spent 10 billion naira on, capacity building, whereas nobody can see that. But let me come back to the other question that was asked, exactly about the hospital. Number one, again, we handed over a modern multi-specialist hospital with about 20 dialysis units, with CT scan, with executive wards, with more than 100 beds, all of them state-of-the-art. Some of the CT and other equipment deployed to that location were manufactured December 2022, deployed by February of 2023. Now, once again, a governor who took an oath to protect lives and properties of the people of Abia failed to deploy security to protect these assets, and now he has come to the public arena to deliberately lie. First, he said to you that the specialist hospital is just a few poles from the teaching hospital. Rufai, let me inform you that the specialist hospital is in Abia South local government. The teaching hospital is in Osema local government. Now, in between is Abia North local government. You are talking about a few poles turning to over about 10 kilometers. Even at that, the same governor that has told you that has forgotten that in Umuahia, there is FMC, which is a specialist hospital. Right in front of the gate of FMC is Abia Specialist Hospital in Umuahia. And then there is still a general hospital in Amachara. Governor Ikpeazu also did a specialist hospital in Umuahia. The one called the Mother and Child Specialist Hospital is also there. What has happened is this. Governor Otti has allowed the vandalization of that equipment, clearly moved some of those equipment away from there, and was unable to protect the assets of the people of Abia State. And he has also failed to understand that Abba even will need additional specialist hospital. Why do we have specialist hospital? We have specialist hospital so that we can have efficiency and reduction in cost. There are at least 9 systems in the human body. All those 9 systems will require both a physician and a surgeon to manage them. You have a specialist hospital. You can then bring in experts in all those areas based on the problem of your people. For instance, I mentioned 20 dialysis units. Why do we have 20 dialysis units? Because we realized at that point that we had issues with kidney failure around Abba. The governor, if properly advised by his team, must have known that he should actually proliferate specialist healthcare facilities. Let me finally say this regarding that facility. When we put the multi-specialist hospital there, we did not shut down the general hospital that existed there. The general hospital unit, though within the same complex, was different from the multi-specialist hospital. So what's the governor talking about? If he meant well for the people of Abia State, because clearly he's driven by bitterness and hatred against his predecessor, why didn't this governor at least say to Abia State University Teaching Hospital to take over the facilities of the multi-specialist hospital, at least use that facility to teach our children? Because the equipment, they are available there.
Femi also asked you about the legacy. So are you going to say this hospital is part of the legacy? But I want to ask you this. Why didn't the Ikpeazu administration fix Afikpo Road and Port Harcourt Road that I visited that had not been fixed in a while? Why didn't the Ikpeazu administration, fix that? He also said that they're investigating your administration for 10 billion for this airport project, that he's been talking about. So talk to us about that.
Let me.
And he said they are not probing, that he's not ready to probe the administration. Can you clear the facts on that? Yeah. Go ahead.
Don't mind him. He says a lot of things. As of today, there is an established probe panel led by a retired Chief Justice that is specifically probing the Ikpeazu administration. The so-called report that he said he had, he submitted it to EFCC. EFCC invited the contractors on the 10 billion naira airport, verified the statement, the public statement of Dr. Ikpeazu, verified the road project, verified the application of the fund, verified the transaction with UBA, and let all those people go because they realized that Governor Otti was on a vendetta mission. Now, speaking to Port Harcourt Road and Afikpo Road, I was a little bit taken aback that the road you were celebrating was less than a kilometer. For a governor that has run a budget of 1.4 trillion naira in 2 years, less than a kilometer. See, Rufai, no government can do everything. We did Fox Road in Abia, the Fox Area Road leading to Area. You heard when the governor said he didn't complete the government house because he wanted to give Area traders good access to. For Christ's sake, he didn't do anything. It was his predecessor that did those things. We did Ngwa Road, we did Okigwe Road, we did Umuola, Ehere in Obohi. We did over 230 roads. Rufai, I can readily reconstruct the roads you followed into Abia from the governor's house and tell you who constructed which road. If you follow the old road, you would have gone through Obikabia Road, done by Ikpeazu. From that Obikabia, you dovetail into Ururuka Road, done by Ikpeazu. On your right, Ikpeazu did Ehere, Umuola, and of course, Ukebu Road. In fact, he also did Ovom Road. But he wasn't happy with the quality delivered by the contractor. He's probably one of those contractors still. He refused to commission it because he didn't feel comfortable with it. Now, if you had used the flyover side, if you had decided to drive through the express road, which was done by the Buhari administration,
we are fast running out of time. We're fast running out of time, and I noticed that you weren't able to answer my question the first time I asked it. So with this last 60 seconds we have, if you could talk us through, if your leader, as you call him, is not a fraudster as his predecessor, or as his successor actually has referred to him, what is he then? Can you tell us what he has done that has not been celebrated? What good has your leader, Ikpeazu, done that has not been celebrated?
Exceptional governor, probably one of the best things that happened to Abia State, even though he had this fault that he didn't want to make noise. He doesn't like media noise. Rather, he wanted to work and work and work. That governor did over 230 road projects in Abia State. As at the time he came to power, there was no single road leading into Abia, for instance. All the good roads you see today in Abia, all the traffic lights, all the street lights, that most people come to social media to advertise as Otti project. They were done by Ikpeazu. I am speaking publicly now, and I will invite somebody like Henry Shi to say that I'm not speaking to the truth, because he was in Abia when we installed the traffic lights at Brass Junction with hidden cameras, which nobody knew about. Ikpeazu did road, these schools, 4 model schools, and over 600 new classroom blocks. Ikpeazu did hospitals. Apart from the 4 general hospitals, Ikpeazu was the first to link all 700 primary healthcare centers via telemetry to a 24/7 call response center. Ikpeazu assessed by the federal government. Let me put this down. You need to know, because it's a summary for you.
10 seconds,
So when they conducted the multidimensional poverty study in Nigeria, the independent teams from the World Bank, Federal Ministry of Finance, and other federal agencies that conducted it rated Ikpeazu's Abia as the 3rd best. What they measured included security, infrastructure, and all those areas of development.
Sure, Chief Kalu.
My sister.
Sure.
You see,
I understand. I know we
need a lot more time.
You need more time, absolutely, and you're welcome to come back on this program or any of our other programs to speak more about this issue. But for today, we thank you so much for your time.